and welcome to A Lady Well Traveled. I'm your host and creator, Shannon Bednarova, and I'm thrilled that you've joined me today. If this is your first time tuning into the program, I talk about everything travel, whether that's food, lodging, art, history, or culture. I want to discuss every facet of it with humor, reason, reality, and some southern sass thrown in. I'm on a months long journey across Europe, and I'm currently in the Netherlands meeting up with two of my friends for more adventures. Today, I want to address some hard truths with you about the temperatures you may face when staying in lodgings in Europe or buildings in much of the EU or the UK. So, whether you're staying in a hotel, a hostel, an Airbnb, or a Verbo, or if you're dining out, going to a museum, shopping mall, or other public place, you may encounter this issue that I'm speaking about. In Italy, Scotland, England, and the Netherlands, in the past month, I've stayed in a variety of hotels and Airbnbs. I can't really recall more than one or two of them having air conditioning. Now, for people who live in Scotland year round, that might be fine. They may not have very many hot days or evenings that stay warm at all. They also may be able to get by with just using an electric fan or simply opening the windows whenever they deal with a warm day or evenings where they have warm sleeping conditions. However, for me, a room that won't cool down, where I can't open the windows, or I can't use an electric fan, or even have a single top sheet to use instead of a thick feather duvet, seems to be absolute insanity to me. Why should I have to pay 200 to 500 euros or pounds a night to sleep miserably, if at all? Most hotels will not allow you to set your room temperature below 19 degrees Celsius. Many have windows that will not open. All have a duvet without a separate linen sheet. This requires you to sleep under a very heavy duvet or comforter the entire night. You alternately wake up in a puddle of sweat and then you freeze to death as you've thrown off the covers and your sweat dries and you catch a chill. Repeating this cycle over and over, night after night, is no fun. So if you think that this is just me talking, it's not. Now, I will admit there could be a common thread among the friends with whom I've traveled who have also found this to be a problem. They're all women and they're all of a certain age. And that certain age is between the ages of 45 and 67. And that's a 22-year range. But not all of them are menopausal or even perimenopausal. Now, you may say maybe women are just more prone to getting overheated because they're due to hormonal fluctuations and that kind of thing. However, according to the sleepfoundation.org, it says that starting 2 hours before sleep and lasting until the morning, the body's core temperature cools, and that causes skin temperature to rise, which may cause most people to feel warmer at night. I know that happens to men as well as women, but can't just be me. It has to be happening to the men who are traveling to the EU as well as women. Everybody's got to be getting hot under those heavy duvets, especially when you're worn out from sightseeing, walking for 15 miles touring, and all you want is a good night's sleep. So let me explain what's behind this hot room epidemic about which I'm talking, for those of you who may not be picking up on the tracks that I'm laying down. This all originated when the EU became very invested in climate change and what they were going to do about it. So the European climate law was written and set out with the goal in mind for Europe's economy and society to become climate neutral by the year 2050. The law also sets the intermediate target of reducing net greenhouse gas emissions by at least 55% by the year 2030 compared to 1990 levels. The ones that really pertain to what I'm talking about say maximize the benefits from energy efficiency, including zero emission buildings, where energy efficiency will play a central role in decarbonizing industrial processes, but much of the reduced energy demand will occur in buildings, both in the residential and services sector, which are today responsible for 40% of energy consumption. Consumer engagement, including through consumer associations, will be a key element in this process. And all of this information that I'm giving you is easily found through Google. Member states of the EU all had to submit to the European Commission by the end of 2018 their draft of their national climate and energy plans. And those are very important because those set the goal for what they're going to do, each member nation, to meet these energy targets for 2030 and 2050. So, as a result of this, the use of air conditioning and heating is highly regulated in the EU and a little bit less in the UK. For example, here's how it's handled in Italy for this year that we're currently in. Italy is divided into 6 climate zones, A through F, and each has specific rules regarding the turning off and on of heat. And the division is based on the average annual temperature in the different areas of the country. I'm not going to go through every single zone with you. I just want to kind of give you an idea about how this is done. Zone A includes the very, like if you're looking at Italy and you think about the boot, and you think about like the islands on the southernmost part of Italy. So those include the islands of Lampedusa, Linosa, and Porto Empedocle. In this zone, heaters can be turned on from December 1 for a maximum of 6 hours a day, and then they have to be turned off by March the 15th. You can basically run your heaters for 6 hours a day from December 1 through March the 15th. Then we're going to go to Zone C, and that's the areas such as Naples, Salerno, Cagliari, and Toronto. And these heaters can be turned on from November the 15th up to 10 hours a day. And then you have to stop running your heater March the 31st. Zone D, which includes places like Rome or Florence, Genoa. You can turn on the heat from November the 1st for 12 hours a day, and then you have to turn it off by April the 15th. I remember when I was with my friends and we rented an Airbnb in Florence, and it was chilly and it was at the end of October, but we couldn't turn the heat on and we all were freezing to death. That was a problem for us, but yet we couldn't turn on the heat. So we just piled on every sweater and coat that we had because we were so cold, but yet we couldn't turn on any heat. So that gives you an idea of how it's done in Italy. In Spain, they implemented some different rules just a few years ago, and their rules prohibit certain public buildings from setting their air conditioning to below 27 degrees Celsius. And 27 degrees Celsius is around 80.6 degrees Fahrenheit, for those of you who want to know. And among those affected are supermarkets, restaurants, cafes, pubs, bars, and airports. So while hotel lobbies and other communal areas are included, visitors are glad to know that hotel rooms are not included because they're classified as private spaces. Also exempt are public transport, hospitals, schools, and hairdressers. Now, limitations are also included for the winter because buildings and premises included in the rule are not permitted to raise their heating to above 19 degrees Celsius, and that is 66 degrees Fahrenheit. So in the winter, you're only allowed to have your heat up to 66 degrees Fahrenheit. Those are just two examples of the EU member states and their respective regulations regarding temperatures. Each EU member nation has its its own rules and regulations. If you're planning to travel to an EU country, you need to do your research before you go. If you're particularly hot natured or cold natured, you need to avoid the summer or winter months and travel during shoulder seasons that have more temperate weather. I would also advise you to contact any hotel, Airbnb, or Verbo that you are considering booking ahead of time regarding any air conditioning or heating, because some hotels are providing additional or supplemental air conditioning and they're giving that to you for an additional surcharge of 10 to 15 euros or pounds a day. I would call and ensure that this will be available to you ahead of time before you book. You need to know that in advance so that you can make your plans accordingly. Before you travel, check the weather forecast diligently before you're packing. Ensure that you have plenty of appropriate clothing for the season and the predicted weather. If you're headed to Seville, Spain in midsummer, don't be surprised to end up sweating like you would in a Louisiana swamp in a July heat wave. Pack appropriately. The same goes for traveling to the highlands of Scotland in January. Bring some woolens, a hat, a heavy coat, and some wellies because it's going to get chilly. My new travel must haves that I absolutely will be packing for every trip now are: number one, a single sheet or a very, very lightweight blanket that I can easily pack and put on any bed in place of those heavy duvet covers. Yeah, I know it's going to take up some room in my suitcase. However, it's absolutely worth it in my opinion because it's going to give me the option of having a cover that won't leave me drenched in sweat all night. I would suggest trying a bamboo or a very light cotton sheet because they're so cooling and they may help keep you comfortable even in the hottest weather. My next suggestion, number two, is a very small portable fan. They come in either battery, rechargeable, or electric. They easily fit in your suitcase or backpack, and they're extremely small nowadays and quite powerful. They can be an absolute lifesaver when you're stuck in a hotel room with no options for opening a window, reducing the room temperature, or getting an electric fan from the hotel housekeeping staff. Amazon really has a gazillion choices. I really appreciate you joining me today for this talk on what your options are when dealing with a hot hotel, Verbo, or Airbnb room and what you need to do, the reasons why you're stuck in these situations within the EU or the UK. As usual, if you have any questions, you can contact me at Shannon at aladywelltraveled.com. I look forward to hearing from you. Please tell your friends and family that they can join me on any leading podcast platforms. As always, you know that God created this beautiful, beautiful world just for you. You need to get out there and see it right now. And until the next time we talk, bye bye.